of the student ambassadors. My name is Annika. I'm the student ambassador coordinator. I'm originally from Germany. I'm a third-year vet student, and I did my undergrad in linguistics.
I'm Sam. I am a first year and from Vermont.
It's Becca. I'm a third year, soon to be fourth year. Annika and I started here in May. And I went here for undergrad in majoring in marine biology, and I am mixed tractor general.
My name is Melinda DeBell. I am 1/4 a vet, like Sam, so we're first years. And I am from Colorado, born and raised, and I did my undergrad here at CSU in animal science within the College of Ag, and I also did a minor in business administration.
My name's Stacy, and I grew up in Illinois, but I've lived out here for a long time. And I did my undergrad at Colorado School of Mines in mechanical engineering. And is that all we're supposed to answer?
Sure.
Did I hit everything? That was beautiful. Your second year. Oh, and I'm second year student.
My name's Em. I'm a second year as well with her. I was born, well not born, but I was raised in Boulder, so just down the road. I went out to undergrad in California and then came back. I was in Berkeley.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I grew up in that side.
Very cool.
I toured Berkeley.
We got till 11 o'clock for whatever questions you can think of, so fire away.
I miss the facility.
Yeah, go for it.
Why did you pick this school to go to for vet school? I'm out of state, so like I don't get in-state tuition no matter where I go.
Okay, which state are you from?
I'm from New Jersey.
Okay, so hey guys, you want to answer real quick why you picked CSU?
I can. Mine's partially different because I was in state, so it does make the decision a little bit more heavily weighed towards one of them. But one of my roommates is from Ohio, and she chose Colorado, even though it was out of state, just because of the program and it was what she wanted. So I would say just look at the different schools and what they offer for what you want to go into. I want to go to exotics. Like there actually is becoming a bigger and bigger program here for that, and so I had different reasons to want to go here as well.
Doctors were so passionate and excited about what they were doing, the research and the treatment and everything, that's what actually made me want to come to vet school. And the thing I would say about CSU is that has continued throughout the time I've been here. I can't believe how amazing the clinicians and professors and faculty and administration, and my class, and all the people that are associated with this program are just amazing. The other thing I would say for CSU, just from comparison of other people that I know have gone to other schools, is we have a really big class. You know a lot of people, but it's very personal and intimate. And the fact that we have such a big class allows our hospital to support every specialty that there is. Some of the schools that have smaller programs have smaller caseloads at their hospital and just don't have the capacity to offer as many different specialties as we do here at CSU. And whether you want to go into one of those specialties or you just want to experience like how to properly do urology or cardiology as just a general small animal practitioner or a large animal practitioner, those are really beneficial to have those really high-level specialties available.
Well, my journey is a little bit different. My journey started when I was a senior in high school. I was on a national competitive figure skating team, and when I was getting ready to graduate, I didn't know if I had always wanted to be a veterinarian, but I didn't know if that was the path I was going to take right out of high school. I still wanted to skate. So my three options were either go to Boston and skate for a skating team out there, go to California, skate for a skating team out there, or apply to CSU. And I applied for the Vet Start program, which unfortunately they don't have anymore. But upon graduation, I found out that I got accepted into a Vet Start position here at CSU, which means I have a spot reserved for me 4 years later as soon as I finished my undergrad here at CSU. And that was kind of an eye-opening experience for me. I was given this opportunity and I decided, you know what, I will put off skating for a while and I will go and do my undergrad and become a veterinarian. And I don't regret it at all because I went from being a figure skater to right now I am president of the Vet Student Hockey Club team, which is so much fun. So I have in 1 year transformed from being a figure skater into a hockey player, and I don't regret my decision whatsoever.
I went here in undergrad, so I'm in state, but I was actually looking at DVM PhD route, so I applied here in Penn, and I ended up choosing here. I wanted to go here anyways. I didn't want to apply to Penn, mainly and it didn't matter for me because a lot of the combined programs, you actually get in-state tuition anyways, so it wouldn't have mattered where I applied for the combined program. But I wanted CSU because I love the faculty here, I love the environment and the atmosphere. I think everyone's super friendly and personable, and the faculty treat you like colleagues, and they're really just like, I really enjoyed all the faculty I worked with.
When you describe it that way, I'm envisioning she's from New Jersey, out east. One time I was actually visiting with somebody who was from out east, and she was like, gosh, I got here, and people were so friendly that I was scared. Oh my God. And that's, I mean, so when you're saying everybody's so nice, everybody is so
People
nice.
really here are friendly for fun.
They really want to bond with you. Like even in like the microbiology graduate program, they take you out for to the mountains camping for a week for orientation, and we even have mountain campus at Pingree Park, and where you go do orientation out with all your classmates. And I just really appreciate how they treat us here and how family-like it is.
They call you doctor right from the beginning,
Yeah.
from day one. You're called doctor.
Yeah,
So, it's like a good boost when you're like, oh, I'm down in the dumps today, but hey, what's up, doc? Oh, no, I'm gonna be a doctor. So.
I'm from Vermont, East Coast. I had a number of offers from East Coast schools, but I'm obviously here for a reason. So glad that I decided to come out west. Part of it was not wanting to live in Boston or Philadelphia. I come from a town of maybe 2,000 people. Being here, having the opportunity to go up in the mountains, just everybody being so great here on various visits that I had, and the programs. I'm interested in equine and bovine, and the programs here are second to none. So.
Yeah, money is logistical. Kind of like where do you want to be for 4 years? Because grad school's not going to be the only thing you're going to be doing. You have to live too.
Yes. So if you don't want to live in a big city, that's something you want to consider. Fort Collins is a great town to live for 4 years. Yeah.
What was your reason why you chose your undergrad before you got the veterinary science degree?
Okay. Go through real quick and give a short answer. So when I started my undergrad, I wasn't planning on going to vet school yet because I still thought I wouldn't be able to do it, and I was afraid of needles. So I didn't think that I would ever be able to do surgery. So I went into what I thought I was most naturally talented for, and that was language stuff. So I studied foreign languages and linguistics, and then decided later that I wanted to pursue veterinary medicine. So I got into vet school with a liberal arts degree, and that's okay too.
I went to 2 different colleges. I started out in the liberal arts setting, doing mostly wildlife biology, and then through a lot of different things, decided to move schools, went on an animal science track, and got into working with dairy cows and a whole bunch of different experiences that just sort of solidified that this is what I wanted to do.
Honestly, it doesn't matter what you do your undergraduate in, as long as you do the prerequisites you need to do to get into veterinary school. You just follow your passions and what you want. I did microbiology because I was a nerd for viruses, and my teacher introduced.
That's my favorite class right now.
I loved viruses, and when my teacher talked about HIV, immunodeficiency virus in high school, I thought it was the coolest thing to learn about, and that this virus could hide in the cells and disappear from the body, and I loved it, and I was like, I should do microbiology for undergrad.
But if you don't want to get your undergraduate degree in biology, you don't really have to get into vet school. You don't have to have a chemistry degree or a biology degree to get into vet school. We have lots of people in our class that have gone to school for art history, for mechanical engineering, languages, as long as you do your prerequisites and still go through all the steps and prove that you want to be a vet, you can go to vet school.
Sometimes it's kind of cool if you have a varied background. The nice thing about like animal science degrees and stuff like that is you get all the prerequisites doing your undergraduate work. And whereas if you go to an English degree or something, you have to really try. Like you basically have to get your prerequisites as your electives, or spend some time after your bachelor's degree getting a few more prerequisites. But on the flip side of that, the kind of cool thing about having a different background is that your application looks a little bit different than everybody else's. So I think when I hear that somebody did like an English degree, I'm like, wow, they've read all these books and all these kind of things, and it's like there's so much very unique, you know? So.
Yeah, it's kind of how you want to manage your time. So if you have a passion for something that doesn't really require science classes, you are going to probably be taking a little bit more credit-wise in classes to get those science classes in, to get those prerequisite classes that you are required to have upon obtaining upon filling out your application for vet school. Luckily, there are some degrees that kind of factor that in. So animal science, I still had to take some more electives that were not within my, hi everyone, that were not within my degree. So yes, I still had to take extra classes even though I was an animal science-based class. That's just something that if you are willing to do, I mean, by all means, it costs money to add on more classes in college and stuff like that, but if you are able to have a passion for that and find that pathway, go ahead and do it. The reason I chose animal science is because I was in 4-H my whole life, and I had a passion for food animals and making sure that these animals were not only humanely treated, but they were treated well, and they were also treated when sick. And so the reason I wanted to go into animal science is because I saw myself graduating with a veterinarian degree, going back to the 4-H kids and helping train them on how to do their projects and how to raise animals correctly so that we can bring up a new generation of people that have a passion for livestock animals as well.
Love it. Any other questions?
One, it's just more clarification on yours. A lot of yours made sense. You were a mechanical engineer.
So I actually am a second career veterinary student. So I actually was a mechanical and software engineer for almost 15 years before I actually went to vet school. So I did mechanical engineering, honestly, because my best friends went to engineering school. And so I did too. And I didn't know what else to do with my life. It's definitely not the worst thing that you fall into. It served me well for a long time, but it wasn't my passion. So then I basically went back. I can tell you I'm more passionate about it now than I was then, because when you learn stuff like cardiology, it's like, wow, this is just fluid mechanics in your body. This is awesome. So it's so much more interesting in this context. But yeah, that's how mine was a little bit different of a route.
And then a lot of vet school classes, there's quite a broad range of students that have had second career or other careers before they started vet school. They have families, age ranges from, I think when we started out, somebody was 21, but we also had students in their 40s in vet school.
20 was the youngest.
20 was the youngest, and in their 40s.
And there's a guy in first year now who's 57.
And
This
he's
is
going to be
his
vet
third
now.
career. Yeah,
So.
this is his third choice career. So.
Any other, I think there was another, yes.
Is there anything you don't like about Fort Collins or CSU?
All right, well, everybody in maybe 2 sentences can think of something that they find problematic or frustrating.
I can answer this. I had this question before.
Go for it.
I am a tiny bit irritated by the construction and stuff that's going on. And the cool thing is if you're looking to apply in the next 2 or 3 or so years, it's going to be all done and you're going to have this beautiful campus with all these new buildings and everything like that. But in the meantime, the streets closed and stuff like that. I'm a pretty laid back person, and for some reason that just instilled a tiny bit of rage in me.
That's very surprising.
But it's really hard to come up with another answer to that question because I'm usually surprised by the things that I didn't think I would like that I love. So
I have a dog, and I didn't realize that in Fort Collins there isn't really that many off-leash trails, because I'm used to being able to hike with my dog off-leash, and that annoys me, so I usually drive down to Boulder to go on real hikes.
You have to find secret spots
Yes.
around town. You can take your dogs
You
out.
will get caught.
Because, it makes sense, because everybody and their dog, literally, has a dog here. Everybody loves dogs. It's a very dog-friendly town. You can take your dog downtown, and they have drinking bowls for the dogs, and you can, a lot of you probably know this, you can leave your dog, tied up when you're sitting outside, and it's very nice, but, with so many people and so many dogs, they have to be kind of strict about leash laws and picking up your poop and stuff, so if you have a dog, they like to run off leash, you may have to drive a little bit up the canyon or go to a special park that takes a 10-minute drive or something. ways where you can get in trouble. Anybody else?
My biggest thing is parking.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it drives me crazy.
I ride a bike.
Especially with the construction, because there's no place to park, so it's kind of like the biggest competition I have in vet school is trying to find a place to park. So I'm just like, it's kind of a fist fight almost, but I mean, and the parking passes are really expensive, and CSU is trying to go more into being more green and productive campus with like using less resources and commuting more on bike. And I mean, for a lot of us vet students, like that, some of them it works really well with, like some students, but some it doesn't. Like some commute, and some have to be going and transporting their kids or their animals or running to and from the hospital within a large amount of time. So that's my biggest concern is just like parking is not conducive.
Yeah, parking's really hard, and a lot of vet students who have like horses and stuff, they live outside of town because there's not really a place to have them, and so they have to commute in anyways. And unfortunately, the veterinary teaching hospital can't have a separate parking, and because we're part of CSU, so we have to follow their parking laws. So I even asked Dr. Hackett about the parking. I was like, why do we have to pay for parking at the vet hospital since we're like a South campus and its own entity? And it's because we are part of CSU, we have to follow their parking laws. So that is frustrating, and it's so expensive, and it is hard to find parking. Usually you can find, if you have a pass, you can find, with all the lots now, you can find a spot over here. So that's nice. But yeah, campus, the construction is just ongoing.
But luckily, we have lots of really great bike trails around here.
Bike trails,
So-
the max.
The buses
The
are
max
really good
is right.
too, so it's more like just annoying
Yeah,
than
it's-
anything else. It's certainly that you could work around it, but it's just,
Personal problems.
It is.
right?
It's a real problem.
They're building more parking garages and stuff too, which is nice. But I mean, we're just gonna have to see how that's gonna work out in the future. But right now, it's really frustrating. But that's okay. As long as school's great.
I grew up in a town without a stoplight, so
I know.
yeah, just living in a city is
It is. A lot of people.
different. And even where I went to college was fairly rural, so I like to get out of town, and I live out of town.
It's interesting hearing that because I grew up like in Denver, so to me this, like when I first came here, I was like, this is so rural. And I was like, no, not at all.
Does that answer your question?
One
Okay.
clarification.
Yes.
Do any students ride horses to school?
No, but there are parks, like just like parks where, open space and stuff where people ride horses. Like you go to walk your dog and there's a playground and just a normal park and people are riding horses. Yeah.
I would like to say no, but someone was asking me, do people cross-country ski class when it snows? And I said no, because my friend was from out of state in undergrad. And then she came in and just punched me in the arm. Was like, I saw 2 people cross-country ski class today. And I was like, oh.
It's possible.
Sorry, yeah.
It's possible.
One girl scooters.
Oh yeah,
From your guys'
she's-
class.
That's good.
Like scooter, like little kids.
Like-
Not like
Very
a little
inefficient.
motorcycle scooter.
It's great. She can just like.
Did you have another question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do any of you guys live in dorms or out of the dorms?
We can't live in dorms as graduate students. They're in dorms for us.
Most of us live with roommates and share houses around town. So it's affordable. Yes.
So I'm here with some middle school students. So,
Awesome.
Welcome.
hi. Melinda has been out to speak with us, and she's coming back again. And we're learning about being a vet student and going through that experience. So my question for the panel is, if you were a middle school student and you knew you were going to end up in vet school someday with that prior knowledge, what different choices would you have made along the way from middle school to where you are now?
Everybody want to say
Yeah.
tidbits?
So I started working in the vet clinic when I turned 16. So I knew from growing up that I wanted to be a vet. And I wish I had just worked at a small animal clinic with this woman that she likes to take on high school students as like a mentorship type of thing. So she was a great person to learn from. I also wish I had kind of explored the other options, like gone with a horse vet and gone with a dairy vet just to see, because I didn't get as much exposure to that until later. And then I kind of got to see how many options there were. But if you knew going in that that's what you want to do, I'd say just get a diversity of experience and see what appeals to you.
I always always kind of love when we get to talk to students who are either in late middle school or high school, just because they have so long before they're actually applying that you could basically think like, what would I want my application to look like?
And they can have
And you
fun.
can actually just build your life to actually make your application look like that. You have time to do those things. Whereas like most people who were, you know, if you're like a third year college student, you still have time. Obviously, I was like way out of college. I still do it, but you can still do that. But you're kind of, you don't have as much time to build what you want. So like considering that, like what you want that application to look like, I think is good. Grades are not everything in getting into vet school. I can attest to that personally. But if I had known that this was going to be an opportunity, I probably would have been a little bit more disciplined on my grades.
The biggest and best advice I was ever given was if you like something, try that hat on, try it out. You never know until you try. I mean, an example, when I was young, I tried every sport possible. I hated soccer, I hated dancing. Most of the time when I was in dance class, the only thing I looked forward to was going and running the track around the gym afterwards. Like, that's all I wanted to do, was just run out my energy. So it took a long time for me to find a sport that fit, and just the same, my mom knew, you know, it's probably going to take a long time for me to find a career that's going to fit, so she let me try different things. And from the beginning, owning animals and then going in with my vet, I realized how much I loved knowing how the body worked, not necessarily mechanical-wise, but I loved knowing how like systems in our body worked. And so going into a medical field was trying on that hat. I knew that was probably the best fit for me.
If they're in middle school, go have fun and be a kid.
Exactly.
You don't worry about veterinary school applications at this point. You are in middle school, go play soccer, play trumpet, play sports, have fun. I started working at 14 at a movie theater, and I don't regret it. It was a lot of fun, but go be a kid. And if you really want to do something, then I recommend try to convince your parent to get you an animal. It doesn't have to be a dog. It could be a lizard or a fish, and really work on like watching the animal and learning how it lives in its environment, and just like very basic things, and take it to the vet and learn that aspect of things at that age. Don't focus on the technical, the vet school application, because it is important when you're a vet, not the medicine aspect. Like if you get to the point of vet school, you're going to be smart, you're going to know the medicine stuff. What's really important is the communicating with the clients, and like I didn't have a pet as a kid, and I wish my mom has pets now. She has 2 dogs now. She was allergic to everything when I was a kid, happened chance. But I think having a pet as a kid and bringing it to the vet and seeing that side of the thing, it really sticks with you, and you will remember that the rest of your life, and remember when you're a vet. Like, I remember this instance when I talked with my veterinarian. I remember like how they treated me and how well they treated me and my pet, and I want to be that kind of vet. So don't focus, like, go be a kid, have fun, and get a dog. Or turtle. I have a tortoise, he's cool.
Just
so.
don't be a kid.
Don't lick it. So yeah, go be a kid.
I grew up riding horses, and had my local vet sort of took me under her wing when I was about 12, and I worked with her through last summer. And so that was sort of my introduction to medicine, but also I ski raced pretty competitively all through high school. I played a lot of soccer. I played the saxophone for a long time. Like, do other things too. Have fun with animals and ask questions when you have the opportunity. But yeah, just be a kid and have fun.
Yeah.
I agree with that, and I agree with Becca too, because when you're in middle school, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was in middle school. I liked to play outside, and I knew I really liked animals, but I also got queasy when I watched gross things, and that's okay. You know, if you get queasy when you watch somebody cut something open, when you take your own animal to the vet, that's okay. If you're not sure if you want to be a vet yet, you can try it out later in life again and see if you still like it, or if you like other things. You don't have to worry about applying to vet school yet. Just have fun and enjoy your animals and your pets and playing outside. And if I could give myself advice for when I was a little bit younger, that probably would have been not to give up on it, because when I was little I wanted to be a vet, but I did get queasy and it scared me away, and I didn't try again, think that I could be a vet for a long time. And I wish somebody had been a little bit more encouraging and said, oh, you can still do it. You can get over it. And if you decide you can't get over it, that's okay too. So.
But you can't believe the stuff you will get over.
Exactly. So just have fun. You know, I grew up in Germany, so we didn't have 4-H, and I think that's a really great opportunity. I think Melinda was really involved in that, and I think that's amazing that kids here can raise animals and food animals and learn about them when they're younger, and I think that's an amazing opportunity if you have a chance to pursue that, or know families who have cows and go visit them and see if you love animals.
4-H even has, you can show a dog, you can show a cat. Not all counties do it, but you can find a county that
That's
you can show your
amazing.
cat, yeah. I mean, there's a plethora of opportunities for you to, if you love something, try it on, try it out. I mean, it's the only way you can learn if you
Just do what you like.
Yeah.
Just don't forget to get stuck in a tree and it's
Yeah.
Eat some dirt.
Yeah.
So I have 2 questions for you guys.
Oh, boy.
This is for our first and second year. How many hours a week you spend studying? And then my second question is, how are you guys paid?
Okay, we'll answer that. Each of us can, again, add a couple sentences briefly. So studying, I think that depends on every vet student a little bit. So you kind of get overwhelmed when you go into first year because suddenly there's so much material and you have to study more than you ever had before. And so that's a little bit overwhelming and you just kind of find your rhythm. And some people study so much, it's unbelievable, and I don't know how they sleep. And some people have families and they're married and they have children at home and they have animals to take care of, and they have to delegate their time a little bit differently. And some people have lots of hobbies and they find time to do that too. So it depends. Some people study a lot and some people study just as much as they need to. And B, how we pay for vet school, I'm with the WICHI program, so from Montana I get in-state tuition here, so it's a lot less than out-of-state tuition, and I get student loans. And I have a lot of animals and I like my time, so I decided not to have a job aside from that.
Study, I have to take at least a day and a half every week, not doing anything related to vet school. I have a part-time job on Saturdays. My girlfriend moved out here with me, and we have a dog and a horse, and I need to see them so that they don't move back to Vermont. Anytime soon. And so, yeah, we're all here. We're all going to be doctors. Nobody's going to fail out. The school supports us so well. For me, getting straight A's is not the priority anymore. And just knowing what I need to know so I can be a good doctor is good enough for me. And out-of-state student, I'll be out-of-state all 4 years. Loans and some family support.
Yeah, so studying, now that I'm going to be a 4th year, I'd say there's some semesters I studied a lot, and there are some semesters I feel like I didn't study like hardly at all. And obviously midterms and finals are kind of their own story. You're going to be up late, but again, as they said, if you want straight A's in vet school, you can get it. I mean, no problem. If you get to vet school, the material's not difficult, it's just volume overload. And you will be up till midnight or 1 studying every night if you want straight A's, but getting straight A's is not going to make you a perfect vet or even a good vet. Like, again, as I said, it is about being able to work with people and communicating and working as a team is huge. And so even some of the clinicians are like, we don't want you to get straight A's because obviously it'll make you tired, you're not going to remember how to interact with people, so you've been up late every night. And so, I mean, I'm not getting straight A's and I didn't want to, I just wanted to be a good vet. And as student loans are not like undergrad, they're totally different. So in undergrad, you get maybe enough to pay for tuition and you might owe some extra, and then you also have to find money for rent and stuff like that. In vet school, they make sure you get enough to pay for all of tuition and to pay for rent, food, and stuff. So you get plenty of loan money in order to live. I mean, and they do averages, so they'll be like, well, on average, the housing market, it's like $900 a month for rent or something. And so they'll see that as the average. So if you want to live alone in a studio and it's like $1,200, you might need to figure something else out, or maybe like not eat out every night of the week or something. But like if you're living with roommates or maybe on a significant other, totally doable.
Best friends, we are really focused on school, but we're really focused on, having fun and learning. So we work hard, we play hard, There's plenty of opportunity for you to be yourself. My biggest advice is don't think that you have to conform to how your class studies. Study the way you feel comfortable and the way that you know how. For instance, I feel like everyone's always studying, and I know personally me, I can't just sit there and like pretend like it's gonna osmotically come into my brain. Like,
You need a stress factor.
yeah, exactly. Mine is I will study when I know that I'm going to be there and I'm going to be like mentally there and I know that I'm going to retain it. So I don't even try to study if I know I'm like, you know, I've been in class for 8 hours today and I'm going to go home. Like, I'm not going to study because I'm not going to be there. So that's one thing, is just being smart with your time. Go have fun. Like, be a person too. Like, there's so many opportunities. As an undergrad, I really didn't have a lot of friends, but now that I'm in vet school, I have so many friends, and I'm always invited to go do something. Go do it. Don't get burnt out on studying. And payment-wise, like, I had a long time to kind of plan for this because I was in an opportunity where I knew I was going to be going to vet school 4 years in advance. So I just kind of planned out scholarships, worked for that, and then being from a single mom, we both kind of like planned financially early. So I've been working, she's been working, and we kind of put together a plan to get through vet school. So it's never too early to start planning.
Yeah, so along these lines, you just mentioned scholarships. Does any of you guys maybe want to go into a little bit about scholarship opportunities, how you can apply, and what kind of options there are for students?
Sure, yeah, I am currently paying for vet school with scholarships as well. I didn't plan ahead, I wasn't that smart. But there are options. Every year you apply and you get an application that goes to all of CSU's options, and then you individually apply for ones that they think they'll recommend the bunch, and then you can look at them and be like, okay, that one makes me all like that, okay, that one makes me all like that. So there are options as well. It's probably not going to pay up for all of vet school, so you'll also have loans or family support or the other way that you're figuring it out. Most people have loans. We have a financial advisor, which is really nice. So we have someone there who will sit down and talk to you and your spouse, or you and your roommate, or just you and your family, or just you. They'll take your situation into account and say, okay, this is what you need to be doing, work at this time. I work part-time jobs, but a lot of people don't, because vet school is a full-time thing, and it comes to, you study a lot, but you need to spend your free time doing what you prioritize. So if you get stress relief from working in a clinic, then you go and you do that on a Saturday. If you don't, and you want to enjoy your weekend with your friends or with your dog, then you do that with your free time. So people prioritize things differently in terms of studying. I always need to set aside some free time for myself. So I've prioritize that. But there are scholarships.
Does that answer your question for you? Awesome. Any other questions? Yes.
Not to get too much into the loan scheme.
Oh, no.
But how many of you were able to actually pay completely new federal loans versus having to get out private loans from banks or whatever?
Federal loans completely cover med school.
Yeah.
I would say that has to be in state, right? Like,
For out of state, what about for out of state?
there is an addition. So the federal loan program will give you something along the lines of $40,000+ a year, $44,000. Okay, so $44,000 a year for the standard, like, Stafford loan program. And it, obviously that's not enough for out-of-state tuition. There are some other federally sponsored programs, like a Graduate Plus loan, that has fewer limits on it, and then so that's an option when you're out of state. So I think you'd get really close to covering everything with public loans.
I've been out of state here, and we just got the financial aid stuff last month, and it does. It covers between 3 or 4 different federal loans, full tuition, room, board, fees, all that. It's covered.
Yeah, I've been to the school and they're taking out $70,000 just for federal loans. So there are different loans that you have to take, but it adds up to be able to cover whatever your tuition will be usually. So they're good about that.
Very cool shirt. And you had another question too?
So I'm going to be applying next month, so if
Nice.
you have any advice you can give me for application process.
Just make sure, I would say, like, if you have anything to add, feel free. Make sure you take enough time to let your advisors know that and ask them to write you letters. Make sure they have enough time because it's up to them to submit them. waiting on anything, when you have all your stuff done, it's usually your letters of recommendation. So just make sure you got everything in place soon enough, and so you don't run into any hiccups like a couple days before the application due date. Any other advice?
I would say work on your personal essay when you're like totally inspired to do so. So don't wait until the last 2 weeks to do that, because you might not feel that inspiration in that time. And the difference between like an inspired personal statement and a just, oh, I had to get this done is like night and day. How it will sound, how heartfelt it will sound, and just that's really important.
And make sure you put like your story and your passion into it rather than a resume type of thing. If you had to put yourself on paper, which is of course not easy to say, but just have a lot of people read it so they can say like this fits you, like what you were saying earlier. Make sure that it reads you and that you're telling them what you want to show that doesn't fit in like, oh, I did this experience and this experience and this experience. So.
You have a different section of the application to do your resume. So I used all of the different areas of the application to highlight something new about me. So don't like say, oh, I'm going to summarize what I did in my resume. I mean, they've already read that. They don't need to read that. My biggest advice, I think, is to like paint a picture of who you are. Like, it's hard, but it's like take who you are, or like take who you wanted, like the time that you decided you wanted to be a veterinarian, and take that person and put them on that page. And that's kind of hard. And one thing that really works for me when I'm writing is I'll start something and then I'll be like, okay, I'm done. I'm gonna let my subconscious think about it for a while, and that's actually kind of proven on tests. Like, so if you don't know an answer, skip it, like read through, skip it. Your subconscious are gonna think about it for you for a while, and that's where I get a lot of my ideas. It's just like letting my subconscious think about it. Yeah, just take your passion and translate it onto a paper. Advice for younger people who are maybe thinking about it. This is what I did. I had an electronic journal of every animal experience, every clinical experience that I had, and I put it on a real journal. Yeah, or a real journal. It was easier when it was electronic because I could copy paste. Just a thought. But having those recorded and always having them in a place is really easy and simple, because then you can always have a place for that, and you can always revise off of that. So yeah, start early. Make an electronic journal. It was very, very helpful for me, and it saved a lot of time.
Don't forget too, like smaller experiences that you've had that you might not give enough credit to. So if you spent 3 summers working in a clinic, obviously you know to put that down. But maybe you didn't realize that if you spent 2 days shadowing a horse vet when you were 16 or something, that's useful information to put down. I had actually one thing that I'd only done 1 day, and I still put it in because it was interesting experience. So don't sell yourself short on some of those things. And then also I would probably add, there are other areas in the application to tell more about your personal story, about like why you got this grade or that grade, or what challenges you ever faced in your life. And the more you can put down that's just fluid like writing, as opposed to just lists of like transcripts, I think lets them get to know you better and is only beneficial.
And all those numbers you're gonna see of like GPA, hours, that's all averages. Like that's not minimum requirements. I had like hardly any veterinary hours coming into vet school. And I mean, I'm still here, so I just want you to know, like, do what you're passionate about and just kind of,
be genuine.
Yeah.
You don't have to try to. I mean, I guess you are trying to impress someone, but you don't have to try to impress or drag yourself up in an application. Just be genuine and transparent about who you are, and I think then you get where you need to be. That's what I think. Cool. Any more questions about anything life-related, vet school-related? We have about 10 more minutes. Yeah.
Do any of you guys know anything about your sister school, the Rosen School in Edinburgh?
No, any of us are going over there so far.
No, but it is an exchange program, right, over the summer, and I think there's
5 students, I think their senior year, they get to go for a rotation that's for 2 different rotations, so you get to go for a whole month. You have to apply your junior year, and then you go and spend some time at the veterinary school in Edinburgh, and I think you can somewhat pick your rotation. So if you're more interested in like cute cows, you can maybe spend some time with them. And I have heard from some people that it's a very, very, very fun experience, and it's neat to see what a European vet school
CSU is really trying to work on exchange programs and just kind of broaden our international experience. And we have the Edinburgh, then there's the Alaska students where they spend 2 years in Alaska first and then come here for 2 years. We have Ross students that come here and they start off, yeah, they start off in the Caribbean, and then I'm actually working on we're trying to start a Japanese type of exchange program with an externship. You know, a little Japanese, nowhere to go.
There's lots of opportunities.
Yeah, there's lots of opportunities to travel and to get experience. And there's Todos Los Santos, so going down south for 2 weeks and doing spay-neuter type stuff there. Montana trip.
So there's some things that are official sister organizations with CSU, and you can apply for exchange opportunities. But there's also lots of other smaller opportunities that, if you're interested in those, you know, if you just check your email or you meet somebody, there's trips to Montana, there's other smaller trips to Mexico if you can't, you know, spend 2 weeks in Todos Santos or you aren't able to go. People have done all kinds of things down in New Zealand, Australia, Africa, lots of things. And there's also funding opportunities. So SCAVMA every year funds several opportunities with the Unique Educational Opportunities Grant. So you can apply for that, and you can get $500 for your unique educational opportunity.
And some departments have travel funds specifically for unique experiences.
You can also become a DVM ambassador and maybe able to be an ambassador abroad.
Also just business schools, so some people do research over the summer. It's called the Undergraduate Grant or Summer Scholars Program, and there are specific applications to do research in Edinburgh, in Alaska, and in France, and somewhere else. I don't remember where the somewhere else is.
In the Netherlands.
In the Netherlands, no. Okay. I live in the Netherlands.
Yes.
So you can spend a whole summer there being paid to do research if you get that position. It's usually like 2 people who get each spot, each location, but then you spend the whole 3 months up there. So it's another opportunity to go to a sister school.
Does that answer your question?
Yes. As far as like tracking when you're actually in school, I know a lot of us have just kind of advised, regardless of knowing your specialty or what you want to do in the future, which I know tends to change quite a bit once you go through school. But it's kind of been advised, track general. Do everything general through school, and then if you want to go do internships and specialize, you know, do that post-graduation. And I'm sure, you know, everybody says like you know what you want when you go in, but then you just get more experience and more exposure and change it. So like I know equine and cows are pretty much the biggest experience in my life that kind of changed my life and wanted me to be a vet. So I don't really see that changing as far as practicing, but as far as knowledge and going through tracking, I'm kind of curious how y'all felt about that getting through.
Well, I think either way, when you start vet school, no matter what your experience level is prior, the first 2 years you can't really track. You just have required classes, and same pretty much with third year. You just have a couple of selective rotations you can try out. So I think that helps you just get a very good broad education across the board with large and small animals. So especially if you're a large animal person, you're kind of almost forced to do a lot of small animal experience, which in some cases, you know, is very beneficial. Even if you come into vet school thinking I'm for sure going to be a cow or an equine vet, and maybe along the way you might change your opinion during second or even third year and decide, you know what, I really love crazy cats. So that's what I'm going to do. If you wanted to be a guinea pig vet. So I think the tracking system later in school, I think it's good in a way that it lets you explore a little bit more before you track. And as far as tracking goes, I think we've all heard a lot of different opinions too. You should track large, you should track general, you should track small.
Well, I've heard it, like, everybody's going to have an opinion on your studying, on, you know, you can't do the same thing you did in undergrad, this and that. Listen into it, take everybody's advice, and do whatever the hell you do.
The thing is, no matter what you graduate with, you graduate with a DVM, and even if you graduated with, you tracked large, you still have a pretty good general knowledge about small animal medicine. And if you, for some reason, later in life decided you wanted to be a small animal practitioner, you still can. You're not limited. So I think it just depends on which emphasis or what you feel most confident about you might want to do after vet school. So
And
all veterinarians, you all need to know it. Like, you take the board
Right.
exam, you need to know everything. And one thing I would like to highlight about like CSU and the veterinary department here is there's other opportunities for you to get involved. Like, you're paying a hefty tuition, but you're given a whole bunch of opportunities. Like, make use of that, utilize those, because you may find out that, oh, I actually kind of like this, or darn it, I thought I'd like this and I don't. And so there's also opportunities that you can get cheaper experience. Like, so if you wanted to get certified, it's cheaper to do it as a student than to do it as a doctor. So it's one of those where you're given the world and just take what you want.
Right.
And just to clarify for people, so when you're doing your 4 years of your DVM program, you only have 3 tracking item options that Anna was talking about that you pick at the end of your 3rd year. Either large animal, small animal, or mixed.
Academics is actually coming into yours.
But then the thing that sometimes needs clarification is people who specialize in a specific area of medicine, like neurology or cardiology or oncology, that's afterwards. So just to...
Well, because I know income has a lot to do with it, with some people just understanding that large animals kind of flips as far as income is a lot lower starting out, and especially in an internship aspect, you're right over 20 grand a year, which barely covers your interest on your loans. So I mean, some people just choose to go small because it's easier to find a job and financially feasible later on in life.
But no one's going to ask you when you graduate what your track is.
Right.
So no matter what you track, you do have core rotations you have to do.
Right.
And you're going to be working.
You still get the knowledge.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of that one minute amount of time of specializing.
And, if you're on a farm, the farmer's going to ask you, like, hey, my dog's been limping, can you check him out?
Right.
So,
Yeah, and there's advantages and disadvantages to every track. So that's something that you won't really know until you get, I'm still trying to figure out if I want to do larger general personally. And you weigh it and you hear everyone saying their opinion of what you do, and then at the end of the day, you just pick what's best for
Right.
you.
Say whatever you're gonna do.
And at the end-
for advice, but
He'll graduate as a vet.
Yeah, so I wouldn't worry too much. Take what people are saying, but wait until you have all of the information and the choices in front of you, and then choose.